right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of This Is Why I'm Sober. My name is Chris Kelly,
I'm Abby Rose.
and welcome back. We are here with our third podcast. Again, just trying to spread some hope, some resilience. Uh, just sharing our lived experiences to just help out anybody who might be struggling with addiction, who may have struggled with addiction in the past, knows who somebody who's struggling, or just curious about what addiction is and how it affects people's lives. So, welcome back, Abby. Wonderful to see you again.
You as well. Thank you.
All right. So last week we talked about the beginnings. You know, not necessarily like the beginning of like our addiction per se, but just sort of the story of how we got introduced to substances. And so I was thinking for this week that we could sort of bookend this conversation and just jump all the way to the very end of when we stopped finally using substances. So I guess I'm just kind of interested in hearing like what was it? Like, was there a moment? Was it sort of like an event? Was it just a thought, or what exactly like got you to just say enough is enough? I'm done with this shit. Like, and I'm gonna get sober. I'm going to enter this journey of recovery. Um, so yeah, tell me your story.
So that is, there's so many times that it should have been my end. There's so many times I look back and think, why was that not your turning point? I talked about that in our first episode of how, most times people don't just quit after one horrible experience. We talked about our beginnings, and I was reflecting a lot on that of just how you just do never know if you're going to be prone to this, right? So obviously we didn't open this door so that we would have to have all these shitty experiences lead up to the big moment. Um, and so many big moments that accumulated for me. So many times I tried to quit and obviously wasn't planning to be an addict. Nobody wants to be an addict. Everybody that's an addict knows that what they're doing isn't helping their lives. There was so many times that I honestly just wanted to die because I just hated who I was and what I was doing. I hated the things that were happening to me that I was participating in for years on end. Um, to where I really did just loathe myself. I didn't think I was kind of, just deserving of good things in the back of my mind because it was just like you did this and you did this and you did this and you said this to this person and um I wasn't my best self obviously when I was going through the trenches. Um and there's a lot of heavy experiences that I accumulated that, again, I'll reiterate that I should have been like, man, I should just make different choices because this is not working. But addiction, again, you have the best intentions and then you can't carry through with them, right? Uh, I'm gonna tell you my last moments that like turned me around, but real quick to reflect just one more tiny thing of what I shared last week, and how I was like, you need to be mindful of what you put in your body. I wasn't meaning, I don't judge anyone that can use anything and, have a productive lifestyle. I'm always in awe of my friends that can have a drink or two
Yeah.
and they go about their lives and they carry forward. Like I think that's great and amazing. And I think that it's wonderful that people can do that. I only said that in the sense of like we just don't know if that's opening the door. So
Yeah.
putting that
Yeah.
aside for now.
Yeah, for sure.
And the last time I ended up using meth, we'll dive into that one first because it's the one that is the most recent 7 year space from. Um, there was this particular batch that had come through where I was, and it wasn't very safe, meaning it had been altered heavily. And that's the scary part of the drug world is people are just trying to make a buck, right? And so some people aren't very mindful of what stretching out product, trying to say this as best as possible. Oh yeah, trigger warning to people that we do discuss real things that involve real things. We're not at all condoning drug or over abuse of alcohol. So this particular product had been stretched out a bit, we will say, with something really scary and not great for your body, right? So, and it was affecting people really horribly um, in that community of users and things. And I had been like every time that we would smoke, it would just turn black. It just wasn't good. And it would just give you like a horrible headache, all these things. And so I was with a friend and they were telling me, well, if you hit the little pieces of it, I'm trying to be so mindful of how I'm wording things because I don't want to trigger people. Um, but product of things that I was about to consume, there was like a dust stuff around it from whatever was added. And so my friend was like, well, if we hit it on the glass like this, it takes that stuff out of it. It makes it fall off, right?
Hmm.
And so then we can snort it and it'll be fine, was her idea, right? She's like, I tested it earlier, it's fine. And I was like, okay, fine. And every time that I would use meth, because I'd been trying to quit for a couple of years at this point,
Hmm.
just really trying, and I'd always end up using again. Um, I would always hate myself after using again too. Like I'd be like, I'm gonna do it. This is the time. And then I would use, and then it would just be, I would just be so angry at myself and so sad. And I got to a really, really low point to where I ended up trying to kill myself even. Like it was really bad. I was just in a not a good space. Luckily I did not succeed at that. But this particular time I was just like, okay, like I'll do it, like it'll be fine. I'll do this with her. And so I did. And I got the biggest migraine like all throughout my whole head. It was just the worst, like this really horrible pain. And I just remember laying there, like I went to my house and I just like got in my bed and I was just like crying. And I was just like, please don't give me brain damage. Please don't break and pray. Like I was just like terrified. Like, am I going to get an aneurysm? Am I going to die? Like, is this one choice of me doing it one last time and like going with this big idea that's going to be cool? Like, is this the one that's going to turn me into a vegetable or turn me, you know, I see people that I used to use with that they have never come back down. They're just perma-fried, right? And that's terrifying and it's heartbreaking. Because at the end of the day, like that's not what their hopes and dreams were when they got addicted to something either, right? And I was really scared. And honestly, it could have done something to me. It was not a good combination of what they used to stretch this out. So I prayed and prayed and prayed. I was just like, please don't take me. Please, I promise I won't ever do it again. Like I don't like I made a mistake, my biggest oops, and that fucking terrified me to where I didn't. I was so mad at myself that it was just that was my turning point finally to just be like, you know what? This is not worth it. That was terrifying. Um, and thank heavens, because like I said, there was other times that should have been the times. And so I'm glad that that time I didn't get perma-fried. I didn't have an aneurysm. I didn't die in my sleep, like after I finally did go to sleep, of course.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so that was that for that time. And I had to be so intentional. I tell everybody this when I'm talking to them, especially, you know, as a peer supporter and working with people who have been or are addicted to meth as well. Um, and just anything with addiction, you have to change up what your routine is with it, right? And so all those times I tried to quit before that point, I was going back around to the same people. I was going back around to do the same things. I was just not going to participate, right? Wrong. I can't do that. I can't be in a circle where it's being passed around and say no to it. I know that about myself now. To this day, I'm terrified. I don't want to be around it because I don't want to see, even though I feel like I 100%, 1,000,000% know the life I'm building is way better than like what that shit could ever offer me.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't want to find out. Like I don't want to put myself in that position. And again, like I feel like I'm strong enough, but it's just not the place for me. It's just not what I want to. So I said bye to friends that I was using with, right? I let them know, look, I love you so much, and this has been fun and this has been real, and I'm gonna really quit this time and I'm not gonna come around you anymore. I had a discussion with one of my really good friends that they taught me so many cool things. They were very crafty, very um, just knew they were like me in so many ways of just being a Sally of all trades, knows something about everything, right? And they taught
Mm.
me about all different mediums of things and I loved that. And so I just let them know like I love you and this has been a real friendship for me, but I can't come around you anymore because I know I can get shit from you. And I don't want to do that even though I want to. Obviously, that little thing inside of me that's like,
Attic
this is what I
brain.
want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, if I saw them at the grocery store, I'd give them a hug and I just couldn't go to their house.
Yeah.
Um, and I always hope that they're okay. And then with alcohol, I was still drinking after quitting meth. And I probably started drinking more, honestly. Um, but the last night I drank alcohol, then I was with my ex. We had been broken up for a minute and we ended up getting back together and we each got ourselves a bottle of Canadian Host. It was like, I know,
What's up with
$8
you and these giant jugs of like gross booze?
you know, bulk for less money. It's a bargain.
Canadian host, rum and eggnog.
Oh man. It was just great times, right? And of course, we both needed our own bottles. We're like, we'll each get a bottle. It'll be
Oh,
great.
of course, yeah.
And we had some beer as well. So we went up to, um, so in my town, in my hometown, they don't sell beer in town. And I don't remember, maybe we're going up there to go to the liquor store still too, because I think we might have got some Mickey's too. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So we end up going to the town above us. It's like 20 miles, right? And um, we get to Maverick and we're getting our cigarettes and we're waiting in line. And the cashier was a friend of the little girl that my ex was like seeing while we were on our tiny little break.
Hmm.
And he was standing, like pretending like he wasn't with me and
Hmm.
standing and talking to some of our mutual friends behind the line. And I could see what he was doing. Like, I was just like, what are you doing? Like, why are you? And he was just like being so like, I'm not with her. Like, because he didn't want that girl, because he's just likes to
Yeah.
play the. So, but it triggered the fuck out of me, obviously. And I've already been drinking and it just triggered me. So, because it hurt. It was bullshit, but it doesn't matter. This is not what it's about. But it's important to the story because just to set the tone of where my heart was when I
Yeah.
finally was like, this is fucking bullshit. So, we get out to the car, we're going back home or to the truck, and I was like calling him out. I was just like, why would you do that? Why are you pretending like you don't know me just because her friend's here? Like, does she not know we're back together? Like I'm just questioning things. And he ended up slapping me twice, like on the way home. Um, and we get to my house, we're still freaking arguing, and I'm bawling, and I'm just like, and he had slapped me one more time in my house, and I was just like devastated. And I was like I was just so crushed, so drunk, so, all of the things. And I ended up like, because I was just, there's so many things that we went through in our relationship, like that were like horrendous. But I was like, this is fucking horseshit. Like, get the fuck out of my house. Like, I'm calling the cops. Like, just go the fuck away from me, right?
Yeah.
So I ended up calling the cops because I thought he was gonna come back. I was so sick of him just like fucking just using me as a pawn in all of his crazy ass schemes in life. And I was just on my breaking point and I was just like, fuck
Yeah.
you, fuck this. Um, I walked over to somebody's house and I'm just like crying and I'm drinking more. And I went to bed that night with the biggest like hole in my heart. I was just so broken and so sad. And when I woke up the next day and I saw my Canadian Host bottle, there was like this much alcohol left in it. I had cigarettes left. I'm like sitting on the porch and I'm just staring at these things. I got a cigarette in one hand. I feel hungover. I feel gross. I feel ugh.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all of this fucking happened. Like, we wouldn't have even gone to Monticello if we didn't need to go get more liquor, if we didn't need to go, you know what I mean? Like, none
Yeah.
of it. And had I been sober, like I was thinking about that too. Had I been sober, I would have reacted in a different way because I saw what he was doing. I was not blind to it, but I wouldn't have even had to engage with them. I could have just been like, you can stay here. I'm bouncing out, like whatever it could have been. I mean, I'm sure still would have been heartbroken and words would have been shed, but I feel like I could have maybe controlled my reaction to it a little better or removed myself from the situation rather than become part of the ugly conglomerate that it occurred to be, to where I was just mad. I was mad at alcohol. I was mad at cigarettes. I was mad at like my
Yeah.
choices in life that led me to this day, right? So I was like, I'm just gonna put this bottle in the closet because every time I would try to quit, it was always so hard because, it'd get late at night and I'd be like, oh, I just really want to fucking drink. And I ended
Hmm.
up going overboard because I didn't have anything, there was no fallback plan B option.
Yeah.
So I put it in the closet and I told myself, it's there for just in case. If you need a drink, that Canadian host has got you. And I gave my cigarettes away because I just, again, I felt so like icky, like it was just sick and gross, and I'm glad. I'm glad that I quit them both that same day because I don't know that nicotine's the fucking hardest. So, yeah, I just was so mad and sad that I was like, fuck you, alcohol, fuck you, cigarettes. And it wasn't until, you know, months later, like 8 months later, I was cleaning out my closet and I found it and I was like, holy shit,
Yeah.
this is still in here, like what the heck? And I actually recorded a video of me pouring it out by my porch because I was like, I didn't even need it for just in case.
Yeah.
And sure, there was nights I wanted to still drink again. Like, of course. There's still fucking nights that I'm like, damn, that would be nice right now, right? Or just even having a good time. Like the good times, the bad times, like, when
Yeah.
but it's never been like I go back to that sinking hole in my heart night of just like I know what that life brings me.
Yeah.
It's never like I I've had good times with alcohol for sure to a degree. But I've made my worst decisions. I've exposed myself to dangerous situations and not been my best self, not just not had my own back for so many years, and spent so much money on something that was just poisoning me. And I think I was just the slap in the face, literally,
Yeah.
that I needed of being like, this isn't for me. Like, I don't have to keep doing this. And I keep doing it. And I keep doing it. And I was reflecting on my whole life up to that point of like, I keep doing that. Not anybody else. It's
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Damn. So just basically cold turkey for both, huh? Or for all three, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah. Including
Yeah. And I
cigarettes.
mean, like I utilized weed. I started more smoking weed heavily, like after quitting meth for sure. Like it was a good transition because one of the hardest things with meth is alcohol messes with your brain chemistry and it's a depressant. But meth is like that on steroids. Like it's
Mhm.
so like you're so out of balance that you are literally you can't even your energy's not even there to go and do anything. You're
Yeah.
depressed, you're in a slump, you're craving only sugar. Like there's just so many things that it's just like you're so out of because you literally are frying your brain every time you're like melting it. So I definitely had the help of marijuana to help me kind of just transition off of things with all of it. But yeah, definitely I still think it's cold turkey as far as it goes, is like
Oh yeah.
not
I mean,
not going and getting a bottle or just trying to wean myself off because I tried that so many
yeah.
times over the years. I'll just cut back. I'll just only drink on the weekends, but the weekend turned into like the biggest shit show,
Yeah.
right? Like it's
Yeah.
just yeah.
Wow. Well, yeah. Harm reduction. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know, you stop your DOC, your drug of choice, and it's like, a lot of people will use weed or, look at on, medications, or some
Exactly.
people some people can drink less. Like some people
Yes, and
can
that's
actually. It's like I'm gonna drink on 4th of July and New Year's Eve, and that's it. And it's like
yeah.
good on you because
And I
that
have friends that do that, and I'm
yeah
impressed. I'm like, that's so cool. And that is harm reduction. They're not out getting shit-faced every weekend anymore
yeah
or every day.
yeah
Yeah.
wow
And I feel like harm reduction is so important for the recovery world and softening that stigma because people think, oh, you're an addict, so you can't have anything ever at all. But it's like harm
yeah
reduction is harm reduction is harm reduction. are they ruining their lives still? No. Like they're doing way healthier choices. And there's, if I wouldn't have used that, then I probably, there's a lot more options now. There wasn't like all the naltrexone and all of
Hmm.
those types of things with medication assisted treatment. But yeah, I think it's all important. It's a matter of what you're able to do with your life. Like,
Yeah.
is it something controlling you, or is it, I mean, I have to harm reduce with sugar sometimes. Like I said, like
Oh,
that's
yeah.
my, sometimes I'm like, damn, I am overdoing it.
Yeah.
Let's have a cleanse. Let's have a pause here.
Yeah. Right. Switch over to Splenda.
Yeah. Give me my stevia packets. And yeah, I think as an addict with that mindset too, I'm constantly just kind of self checking in awareness, just even with my phone,
Hmm.
with anything. Because I
Well,
with my addicted mind, I could turn anything into a monster if I let
well, yeah.
myself.
I mean, an addict brain is an addict brain, and that's why like
Right.
process addictions are such a huge thing. Like people will stop drinking and they'll shop or gamble or I mean, a plethora of things you become addicted to, and it's just the wiring of the brain. Um,
Yeah.
but wow, I mean, you know, what a I mean, what a story of strength, and like perseverance, because I mean, what you did, not just with meth, but alcohol as well, like that's it's really difficult to do.
It
So,
is.
yeah, I
Took me
mean,
years, years, years.
yeah,
Thank you for hearing me.
yeah, wow, it's a hell of a story, and geez, and guys, you hit on so many things. I mean, just and one of them, I think specifically that just it's like how willing we are when we're so wrapped up in it to put ourselves in these situations that are just they're just so devastating. You know what I mean? I mean, like,
Mhm.
I mean, whether it's domestic violence or, criminality or whatever, it's like when we're in this, when the drug completely takes over, it's just like I don't know. I mean, for me at least, it's just like tunnel vision, and it's just I need my next drink, and that's the only. Every single thing I did was just to get to that next drink, and I mean, I was scheming and manipulating and turning my phone off so nobody could track me, and and like
Right.
I mean, running around town, going to four different liquor stores, and picking up a couple things here and there, thinking that like no one's going to really notice. But it's like in the end of the day, it's like, yeah, right. Like they could see me pulling up, and they already had my shit out for me. You know what I mean? Like, so I
Right.
mean, it's crazy. Just you know, it just takes the alcohol for in my situation, at least, alcohol just took over. It just
Yeah.
controlled me. I mean, I was just like it was like a marionette. You know what I mean? And I was just
Hmm.
like whatever my addict brain and whatever the booze wanted me to do, I did it, and it's
Yeah.
scary. And um,
Yeah.
but yeah, gosh, and you hit on a lot of other things. How just deep we get into like shame and regret and guilt, and
Yeah.
um, at least for me, like those are the feelings that that drove me deeper and deeper and deeper into the hole. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
um, and I'm glad that you mentioned too, like, and this, I think some people will probably disagree with this, but it resonates with me. It's like, I don't, nobody wakes up in the morning one day and says, I'm going to be an addict.
Right.
I mean, it
What I'm gonna
seems like,
do.
right? Like, it seems like, like your story sounds very similar to mine. It probably sounds similar to just, I mean, millions of people out there where it just starts fun. I mean, we talked about last week. It was like, yeah, that's, it's a good drink. And it starts fun. And then, the fun sort of escalates. And at least for me, it was like, I felt like I was like the life of the party, the fun guy, like party doesn't
Mhm.
start till Chris gets here. And, here's my like two jugs of like McCormick vodka, and
Yeah.
it just kept rolling and rolling and rolling. But I mean, there's so many elements that I didn't think about. I don't think anybody thinks about when they're in that, like in their teens, 20s, right? That it's there is, I think, I mean, there is a genetic factor. There is like a social factor, and the environment. Like you mentioned, like I have to, if I'm going to change my behavior, I've got to change my environment. Had to say bye to your best friends, right? And it's like that resonates with me so much because it's just crazy how small my circle got. when I was finally sober. And it's just, but I'm okay with that, right? Because I know that, there was somebody when I was in treatment the second time, and I'll get into my story here in a moment. When I was in treatment the second time, somebody, complete stranger, looking across the room, just looked right at me. He wasn't talking to me; we were talking to the room, but looked directly at me and was like, if you think you're going to be able to stay sober in the same environment that you couldn't stay sober in, right, you're crazy. And right then, that was like the moment that hit me, and I was like, I've got to change everything in my life. And that includes divorce, moving away from my home, saying bye to friends because I just couldn't be around them. And um so anyway, well, thank you for sharing. And
Yes,
I guess I'll just
definitely.
jump into my story real quick here. Yeah, like the my my end of drinking kind of came in like two phases, and the first one was a completely a complete miserable failure. But yeah, I was like, COVID was just horrible, and I just my I was already an alcoholic. But then we were locked in the home for months, I mean, it escalated it to points of no return for me. And I mean, it got to the point where it's like, and I think I'd mentioned this before, but it was like I was so physiologically dependent that, like, if I went, at that time, if I went more than like 4, 5, 6 hours without having a shot or something, like, I would start to shake and see. I was having little minor seizures, and just, yeah, it just minor DTs. But like, um, I there was one moment, and it was in like September of 2020, and my family was over, and my kid was in the room, and my wife at the time, but ex-wife now, but she said something that just set me off, and I was so emotionally dysregulated. I mean,
Great.
obviously, anybody who's in a situation like me where it's like, you're dependent on alcohol, it's like there's a lot going on between the ears, that's not
Oh
right.
yeah.
And so, I just she said something, and I just snapped, and I just fucking screamed and yelled and ran into the garage, and went to go get another drink. And my mom came out and was like, I think this who are you? This is not my son,
Oh
and
yeah.
I like broke down. I was bawling, and I knew at that point, like, an apology wasn't going to do anything. And so I kind of, I wouldn't call it an intervention, but throughout the course of that day, like, um everybody was saying, like, you probably need to go get some help. And so I was like, all right, and at the time, like, I knew it, but I didn't really want to, like, believe it still. You know what I mean? I guess just the thought of, like, not drinking ever again was like really scary to me. And so,
Yeah.
I did go to rehab, and I left in October of 2020. But in retrospect, I really was going for, like, everybody else in my life, and I wasn't going for me. So yeah, like, I went, and I like to say that I I relapsed in treatment, even though I didn't, like, actually, like, drink, but my mind just wasn't there. Like,
Right.
it's got to come from your heart, it's got to come from your mind. And so I got out, and went like a year and a half, just white knuckling it. And I was just thinking about it constantly, and I was always like, oh, I'm going to be able to drink someday, this and that and the other. And so that's why I knew that it wasn't going to happen. And so I eventually did relapse in, um, like, November of 2022. And
Yeah.
I had lapses, here and there prior to that, but nothing severe until November. And I mean, it was like the dam just broke, and the billions of gallons of water that had been storing up in me over the last couple of years just finally, like, just flooded. And um and it was horrible. Like, 6 months, I that's when it really got bad. That's when I couldn't go an hour without drinking, and I was having major seizures. If I would go out past an hour, I was drinking all the time, hiding it. I mean, I say hiding it because I know that it wasn't necessarily, I think people knew, definitely. But
Who knows?
and yeah, I know. But
So hard.
I finally, I kind of got in trouble at work, which was really
Yeah.
embarrassing, and really devastating.
Yeah.
Um, and I just remember just thinking, like, it was so dialectic. It was like, I just want to die. Like, I hope this is my last drink and I hope I just die. But then I'd have these moments where I'm just like, but I cannot have my daughter growing up without a dad. And
Yeah.
yeah, and so one day I made the call and I called the same place and I said, you know, I need to come back. And I was like making demands. I'm like, well, I need to have the same counselor. And I need to, and they're like, dude, give me a break. So anyway,
Hey,
I
you're
know we're
setting
what's that?
requirements. Setting good
Yeah, right.
requirements.
And so the second time I went for me because I mean I was going to die, and I just my kid was just holding me like it was just this thread of hope that I was holding on to that I would be able to be around for her.
Yeah.
And so I went, and then obviously that guy said that random thing to me, and that was it. Like I actually did a 180-degree because I think I'll get into more of this later on, but it was like the first time I went to treatment, I was very resistant because I wasn't ready. Like I said, I was
Yeah.
doing everybody else, but uh, this time it was 180 degrees. Everything I didn't do the first time, I did this time, and
Wow.
it's made all the difference. And
And maybe that first time buffered you to kind of go in knowing what you wanted to do for yourself.
yeah, and in a later episode, I think I'd like to be able to touch on like, and this is another controversial subject. The importance of relapse, at least for me. Like,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
I needed it, and it was horrible, and it was I'd never wish upon my worst enemy. I mean, I don't have enemies, but like, I'd never wish what I went through in that 6 months on anybody. But I think it was necessary to me for me to realize and really sit with the fact that like, um, that I cannot ever drink again. Like because
Yeah.
one, as they say, one's too many and a thousand's not enough. And I
Yeah.
was literally the living embodiment of that. But um,
Right. And you, I feel like that, touching on that, the importance of relapse, those types of things, it really is that reminder of like, this is why I cannot do this. This is why I don't want to do this. And I think
yeah,
sometimes we wouldn't know it if we didn't relapse,
yeah,
just,
yeah, 100%.
and I'm so glad that you were able to do it for yourself because obviously, I mean, you wouldn't be here doing amazing if you didn't do it for yourself.
Well, and I'm a staunch believer that it's got to come from you. You got to be the one to make the decision, and then changing your environment, right? And whether that's your physical environment, sometimes people cannot change their physical environment, but what we can change is how we perceive that environment.
Yeah,
Uh, so,
absolutely.
but I know
Thank you
that
for
we're probably run. Well, I'm sorry. Was that?
thank you for sharing all of that.
Oh yeah, no, thank you for sharing. I know we're kind of getting close to time here. Any just like quick thoughts about anybody that might be listening tonight or to this podcast during the day or at night or whenever they're listening, but
Whenever,
that you could share.
yeah, absolutely. I feel that the most important thing to remember, and always number one, is grace. We have to give ourselves grace and remember that sometimes there's slips, but that doesn't mean at the end of the day your goal is gone. Your goal for whatever you're trying to do, you might go back two steps, but don't give up on yourself because if I would have given up on myself, I would honestly be dead or in
Yeah,
prison. And I, like you said, just I know the importance of every time I did let myself down because now it helps me remember quicker of why my goals and my alignment and what I do and making sure my choices are aligned with my goals is so important to me because I know the disappointment. I know the flip side of that coin. And I love that part of me too, because you know what? I had to learn somehow.
yeah,
And it wasn't easy. And it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it to just keep trying. Don't drink the rest of the case just because you bought it. You know what I mean? I mean, and you'll
yeah,
do what you do, but just yeah, just don't give up. And all the little pieces make up the big pieces.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like puzzle piece or puzzle, right? It's got to just slowly put those,
Yeah,
pieces together.
rearrange it if it's not fitting.
Yeah, 100%, right? And that's kind of mirrors what I was just thinking. Like, there's so much resentment and discouragement and shame and guilt, and and that's real. Like it's real, and um, but there is a way to get through that, and so like anytime somebody lapses or they relapse or they fuck up, like we've got two options. We can just lay down and let it take over and we can succumb to it, or we can learn and just every day just take one small step in the right direction and be like, okay, like I am still alive and I still have a chance to right my wrongs and to get through this. And I mean, I do believe that it's got to come from right here,
Yes.
and but just don't give up. I mean, if you're struggling, like just don't give up. And listen to these podcasts, like go seek treatment. Like there's nothing wrong with going and walking into a facility and saying, I need fucking help, right? Like, just don't give up. And because our addict brain wants us to give up. Like it just wants us to whether giving up means dying or continue to drink, whatever. But like we've just got to regain that power, regain that control, and it's possible. Like it's
It is
100% possible. I
possible.
mean, you and I are living proof of that. So
Yes. And finding the rhythm, it's taking it literally moment by moment. When you
yeah,
said, you're telling yourself, I might be able to drink again one day like that. I had that thought even when I first quit drinking or smoking or doing meth. It was just, maybe when I'm 85 and all the kids are grown and I can do it. But,
yeah,
that thought in the back of my mind, one day when I'm dying, I can do it one more time.
yeah.
Till eventually that voice got smaller and smaller
Mhm.
when I started filling my life with things worth living for
Yeah.
and being proud of myself and not being steeping myself in shame. When we steep ourselves in shame, it leaves us toxic and stuck. And we can use our regret to make different choices. You can be regretful, but if we stay in the shame and think I'm just a fuck up, it's never going to do any better. That's what kept us in our addictions is when we stayed in the shame.
100%. And we can and we have a chance to change. I mean, the environmental level, the biological level. Like I think, hopefully soon in one of our episodes, we'll talk about the actual like creation of like neural pathways by
Yes, I was just thinking that
yeah, yeah.
too.
But cool. Well, I think that we're probably just about time. So I want to thank you, Abby, for sharing your story, and would
Thanks
like
for
to just
sharing.
thank everybody out there for the support. We appreciate you more than you'll ever know. And
Yes,
keep listening. It's free to like, it's free to subscribe, it's free to share, and so we definitely appreciate that. Help us spread the word of hope and in life, really. So.
great. Yes.
Cool. Well, I guess until next time, we will see you later. And yeah, real quick, just we are putting together a store. We're going to be selling some merch. We're going to be making donations to drug-free partnerships, and so that's why we are going to try to monetize so we can actually like help give back to communities that struggle, people who struggle. And but we'll get into that more. But be on the lookout. Like keep a look on social medias because we're within a week of probably opening up our doors. And so yeah, we're excited and we got some really cool stuff. And